We are back with the Manumet Podcast. Happy 2025, everybody. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull, but the host, the man whose name is on the marquee, so to speak, registered investment advisor at Jabez Financial, Glenn Johnson, is here with a spring in his step. How you doing today, sir?
Fantastic, and I'm looking forward to this year.
So am I. This is going to be a great one here, 2025. Last episode, we actually talked about New Year's resolution planning and how a resolution's kind of like a confession, especially if you don't follow through or build on top of it. Be sure to check out those past episodes on Apple and Spotify and on the manumitpodcast.com, which clicks right through to jabezfinancial.com, where you could go for a complimentary appointment to meet with Glenn and the crew and figure out the right plan for you, so to speak, whether it's retirement or even before that, through the accumulation part of life. Now, before we get to brass tacks today, because we want to talk about mindset for growth in just a moment, but first, Glenn, we've learned a lot about you. We know you used to be a big time in soccer. We know you're a marriage counselor on the side. We know that faith is a big part of your life, and you own the Manumet United nonprofit. And those are all great things, you know, networking people, all of that good stuff. But there's something else. You like music a lot too, and even try to play a little on your own.
I do. I have one of my guitars here in the office, so when I have a few minutes of downtime, it's a little therapy just to relax and pick that up a little bit. And sometimes we get to play at church. And also, there's been times in the past we've picked up with a few guys. We've played music at the Homeless Hospitality Center. But, you know, it's like I said, I always say I'm just learning at the guitar. I don't have a whole lot of skill, but I can hit a few chords, and I enjoy a few lead riffs, whether it be like a Pink Floyd lick or I enjoy that, whether it be with something like that or an old Grateful Dead tune or something.
Oh, there you go.
I like the music.
So Grateful Dead, that's where we're at. So it's Grateful Dead.
Well, that's where it started as a teenager. But you know what's funny? I had a friend of mine when I was a teenager. His mom insisted that he no longer hang out with me because she knew for certain that I was smoking pot. Because when I was a teenager, all my shirts were tie-dyes and I had incense burning. And he said, I had beads going into my room and tapestries. And he's like, this guy's a hippie. He's got to be smoking pot. And
folks, now this is an audio podcast. I can assure you there's no purple haze in the Jabez Financial office here. Okay.
No. But you know what? The funny thing was he cracked up. He's like, Glenn, are you kidding me? He doesn't even drink coffee. I've never held a lit cigarette in my life, and I've never had a drink of alcohol ever. I mean, I've never even tasted wine, but I like the music. I gave off those vibes in high school too, and I was very much zero in all those categories back then. So besides Grateful Dead, any other favorite musical artists? Yeah, probably currently like U2 over the past decades, and obviously I still like all of a bunch of hair bands from the 80s, along with Pink Floyd, but also I love Simon and Garfunkel. It's a wide variety that I like, and I can appreciate different types of musical skills.
I love that. And you got a way to release the tension there in the office a little bit too by playing the sixth string. So this episode, we talk about mindset of growth here, Glenn, and also how who you associate with affects that. And so let's talk about that in a broad scheme and then drill it down to finances too.
Great. Well, you know, when we're growing up, sometimes the parents will say, look, you hang around with losers, you'll end up a loser, son. Right. And our parents are always so concerned about the friends and the company that we keep. And there's valid reason for that, because either the people we're with, they're either influencing us or we are influencing them. And you think about that, even if you go for a walk with somebody, isn't it interesting when you go for a walk with somebody is conforming to the other person's pace.
Yeah.
So when you walk alongside somebody, you're making adjustments. When you're living your life alongside people, you're making adjustments to the same way of thinking that they have. You're either going to be more committed or they're going to be more committed to their way of thinking, and somebody will make an adjustment. I remember when I was also starting out in business, one of my mentors told me, he said, look, your income is the average of the 5 people you associate most frequently with.
Wow.
And I looked around, and I like, there's some people that made a little more and there's some people that made a little less, but you could average it out and we're pretty much right in the middle.
Okay.
And so I realized, I'm like, shoot, I need to throw some outliers in there. And so then that's right. So when I'm going to say, I'm going to start spending more time talking with Jerry because he's got a 7-figure income. That throws the average off a bit. And I would start realizing, I'm like, you know what? There are different mentalities. There's different mentalities financially, like a great book, Millionaire Mentality. But then also you can even look at it from a physical standpoint. If you want to feel like you're thinner, hang around with a bunch of giant people. All of a sudden now, I feel better now.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how if you want to feel, but if you actually want to look that way, you probably.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so if we spend our time in any area where we want improvement, we have to put ourselves around people that may make us feel uncomfortable in our current state. And we allow ourselves to change the way we think so that we can see improvement. That's why when I remember after the fire that I was in 2003, I allowed myself to eat as much chocolate cake and ice cream as I wanted.
Wow.
I couldn't move for 9 months. I spent 9 months in a sterilized room, and I enjoyed every bite of chocolate I could reach.
Wow.
But afterward, I knew that once I could get back on my feet, I would I would get back in shape again. So I found a personal trainer, and he taught me how to exercise correctly in a gym because I had played soccer all my life, but I'd never stepped foot in a gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I started associating with somebody that could mentor me physically, and I remember a funny story. He and I became good friends and we started working out together. And I told him once, I said, you know what? I'm going to pass you. I'm going to pass you. And he laughed. He's like, well, I know you got me beat on legs. That's fine. But I said, no, I'm going to pass you on the upper body too.
Oh, man.
And a few weeks later, he asked me again. He said, what makes you think you're going to pass me? I said, well, I work harder than you do.
Ooh, okay.
Right. And I did pass him.
Oh, my God.
And I did pass.
Passing the trainer.
That's right.
Wow.
And so the idea is put yourself in a position where you can take somebody's advice and feel uncomfortable enough with where you are to say, you know what, I'm not satisfied with this. You can use that experience as motivation to put yourself around other people. Allow yourself to extract the wisdom that they have, assume it as your own, and now you can change your belief system and start making progress. Whether you're getting yourself in better shape physically or getting yourself in better shape financially. And it's interesting. You find people that they're so concerned about what their image may look like financially that they've got to buy the expensive clothes and the expensive shoes and the fancy car and all this stuff because they want that appearance. However, you find the people that are truly wealthy, the car they drive, they may have a nice car. They may not have a nice car. They have that whatever car they have because that's what they want. They're not out looking to impress.
Yeah.
I mean, they may have nice things, but it doesn't define them.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. So how do what are some ways that you see people with the wrong mindset, maybe clients of yours or people just applying this financially? Because what you're saying is great. I mean, quote unquote, guilt by association, right? If you're around smart people, your intellect is just by osmosis going to go up. Hey, I get to talk to financial advisors, do podcasts, and people like you, Glenn, a lot. I now know more about retirement than I did a few months ago. So what do you see when they come in, maybe ways that people get this wrong? What is a wrong mindset that someone has? Maybe one that's too conservative or is actually toxic for them?
Yeah, well, it stems from limited thinking because we see ourselves where we are based upon our past experiences, right? And our past experiences can lie to us. So we look back in the last 10, 15 years and say, you know what, it's been a real struggle. And now I'm concerned about the next 10 years rather than realizing the challenges that we've had in the past were there to educate us for our benefit so that we're smarter. So the next 10 years don't have to be like the last 10.
Yeah.
They can be better. Even if the challenges that you face are more severe.
Yeah. That's a good point. It can
still get better. But we've got to allow ourselves to surround ourselves with people that are going to have different thoughts. And what are they thinking about? Are they thinking about, well, I just need this to feel better. I can't take this. I had no other choice. My back was up against the wall, so I had to make this decision. And most people, some of those decisions that you were asking about, like what's a bad decision, or how do you recognize them? If you're making a decision feeling like I have to make this because I have no other choice, there's just no other choice that you're aware of.
I see. Yeah. And if it's involving finances, that somebody in your field, someone like you that's looked at this stuff for a long time, is a great way to give people an array or a menagerie of those choices. So, well, let's hear that. If somebody's hearing this now and they're like, I've been doing this all on my own, or I've been told I only have one option and things aren't looking well, and they want to hear, they feel your positivity brimming through the speakers right now, Glenn. They go to jabezfinancial.com. What happens there the first time they go, and what can you offer them?
Well, what I'd like to offer them first is the relationship. Let's just stop and say hello. Yeah. Send an email. Put your name and number in on jabezfinancial.com or call the office. Just even if you call just to say, hi, my name's Joe. How you doing?
Yeah.
And you know what? We'll take it from there. We just have to start the conversation, and we'll find it, and what's needed will reveal itself.
So what's needed will reveal itself. And that's basically the first part of the process is you're asking people different questions to figure out what they need. And then what does Jabez Financial as a firm provide? What areas of finance do you cover? Is it holistic? Do you have a specialty? That kind of thing.
Well, if we have a financial product, if anything, like there's people out there's asset managers, and we manage money. So if it's an asset manager, we just want to keep money in the market, or there's people that are strictly annuity people, and annuities, they have their place, so if I were to talk about, or different types of insurances or structured notes or ETFs and stocks and mutual funds, all that stuff, all these different financial products exist. So and all financial advisors have most of what's available, not all of them.
Right.
But if I were to point to a product that Jabez Financial offers, it's our system.
Okay.
The system we have is one that it's kind of like a conveyor belt. No matter where you get on, as soon as we plug in the destination, we can construct a plan that will get you from wherever it is that you are exactly to where you want to be. And this is because I'm coming from this with the belief system that whatever dreams that God's put in your heart, he didn't give those to you to torment you. Just like you don't say to a child, look at this great new Christmas gift and you can't have it, right? That would be cruel.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
So if we think about the dreams and the desires that we have for our future, they're not there just to torment us saying, oh, I can never have this, I can never have that.
Right.
The fact is, maybe with the habits that you've had of the past and the thinking patterns that you've had of the past, you're correct. Those won't lead to obtaining those goals. However, the fact that you have those dreams in the first place is the evidence that once you once you start making the right changes, you can obtain it.
Right.
And that's where we have to realize if the dream is far beyond where we currently are, all that means is there's a lot of changes need to take place. It doesn't mean it's impossible.
Right. So let's take that first step. If you're feeling like I need to change course, go to jabezfinancial.com. Jabez, by the way, spelled Jabez. Financial. I'll let you spell that on your own. jabezfinancial.com. You can dial up 860-390-0093 and get in touch with Glenn and the crew, and they'll start asking the right questions. Maybe you just haven't been asked those questions before, and then that can help you go in the right direction there. And Glenn, you and the crew have an array of products here, but I'd say the number one product you have is the relationship. The system that you have that organizes those products, but it starts with the relationship. So you made that very clear, and I appreciate you sharing that today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, man. Gosh, you're the one sharing all the stuff. So, folks, again, go to jabezfinancial.com and get past episodes of the podcast there or on the manumitpodcast.com. And you could also go to Apple, Spotify, other podcatchers. When you go to those, subscribe and turn on the notifications. The episodes come out roughly every 2 weeks. I mean, I haven't turned on for this podcast, so I know, hey, okay, our new show dropped. And for the other podcasts I listen to too. So be sure and check all of that out. And if you know somebody that you think this applies to, hey, they're nearing retirement, or hey, they don't have things in order. Hey, their mindset isn't great. There's been a lot of personality and motivational coaching here in these shows. Be sure and send them that link. Don't just keep it all to yourself. He is Glenn Johnson, the registered investment advisor of Jabez Financial. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks to our producer, Daniel Sallerson, for publishing this thing. And we will talk to you all very soon here again on the Manument Podcast.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Glenn Johnson, Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial, LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial, LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.